So yeah, this is just a video, a collaboration with Claire and Lizzie. We've done it where we're doing it separately and then putting it together, which is why it might look a bit disjointed and weird compared to normal, but just thought it'd be more fun and better really to sniff it blind, innit? Because, well, blind from each other's kind of thoughts and stuff. So yeah, Empress was the first one and Aphrodite is the second one, and Sophie describes this as a long-lasting one, so I'll have to see if it lasts properly. So we'll crack on into it. Obviously, again, it's all subjective, so we're bound to have different opinions and stuff, and the best way to do things is to sample it yourself.
Good afternoon, so thanks for joining me. Today I am coming into the garden to discuss a perfume by Soki London. So this is actually in a collaboration with Claire Smith and Jon Snow. We thought we'd kind of gather our thoughts together and do a sort of a collaborative, I don't want to say three-way, because, you know, it's kind of a three-way scent evaluation, so you're going to get three different opinions and three different perspectives. They're all different and we all smell different things. So, like I say, the fragrance in question is the new fragrance from Soki London, created from Sophie King, and it is called Aphrodite. So this is her second release so far, first one being Empress. So as you can see, the sample came in at a little plastic pouch, and the sample is here. It doesn't have any kind of a label or anything on it, so you're probably going to want to keep it in the pouch, otherwise it's just going to get lost in everything else, because these sample bottles are quite generic and I've got tons in my sample box, so I'll probably need to label it or just keep it in the pouch. So the feeling behind Aphrodite and the way that she's marketed it is that it's kind of like a tropical paradise goddess with inspiration from some other fragrances that she really enjoys. I think there's one that's called Hibiscus Palm from, is it Erin? And she also mentioned a fragrance from the Guerlain Aqua Allegoria called Coconut Fizz. Another inspiration. I'm not familiar with either of those fragrances. Let's have a look at the notes. So we have mango up the top, we have heart notes of lotus and palm trees, and base notes of coconut milk. When I first sprayed this, I didn't actually refer to the notes, and I'd forgotten everything that she'd actually said was in it, because I've seen a few videos. I'm just referencing it on a blotter that I've actually sprayed. I have already worn it on the skin, but I'm just using the blotter today as a reference. But yeah, how it came across to me was a really kind of peachy pineapple. Like if you imagine peach and pineapple together, it was like a fuzzy peach, like quite a nice texture. I get the texture of like a fuzzy peach in here. Quite delicious really. It has got quite a nice tropical, I mean it's straight up a tropical scent, but it's very clean and there's a lotiony feel, so it's got that shampoo kind of element as well, like a pina colada scented shampoo. There's also kind of a textural thing in here which I quite enjoy actually. There's like a textural peach fuzz skin. So I haven't mentioned obviously the fact that it is a mango scent. I haven't mentioned mango because I don't know why I don't think of mango when I'm smelling it. I just think of pineapple, peach. I think the coconut milk is bringing a really nice creamy feeling, like a creamy milkshake. It's bringing this lotiony milkshake kind of texture. And honestly, that is the scent in a nutshell. I find that it starts as it finishes. It is one scent. On me, there was no development. It was just that one scent all the way through, which is great if that's the scent that you love and that's the sort of scent that you enjoy wearing. Focal point of this fragrance is this sort of fruity coconut pina colada drink shampoo milkshake. It's just, that is it. It's a very finished kind of a scent, doesn't change. Very loud, almost shouty focal point. This would be a lovely scent of a shampoo or a lotion or something, but as a perfume it's not very interesting. It doesn't move too much. Very stable and very loud. If you're going somewhere tropical, if you're going on a beach style holiday, this is sort of this is a great scent. If you wanted to scent your holiday and come back and have that memory, it's a perfect scent for that. It's very clean, it's quite a fun scent, it's a happy scent. Yeah, carefree, non-offensive. It's alright, it's nice, it's a really nice scent. It's just not my personal choice, is all. I prefer it to the previous launch Empress, I do. I think this has the pretty factor. I think this is a pretty scent. Yeah, I think Aphrodite will do really well. I think it will be very popular around the summertime. The only fragrance in my collection I can even slightly compare it to would be my Angel Eau Croisière 2021, the one with the pineapple and the fig. That's the only sort of tropical smelling fragrance. Well, you know what though, my 2019 is mango centric, so that's interesting. But I, again, don't get the mango per se. It's more this tropical peach, pineapple, lilt, shampoo-y thing. The brightness that pineapple brings is the brightness I'm getting in here, which is why I think of the Mario Crossier 2021. 2020. I just think more of the 2020 Eau Crossier because of this brightness from a pineapple. Yeah, so it's interesting that the other one has got the mango, and yet that's not the one I think of. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Aphrodite. No idea what Claire and John think yet. We haven't discussed each other's thoughts on this one. I'm not sure how we're going to be wrapping up the videos, but looking forward to seeing what they think. So that is all. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts, and that's all from me. Thanks, guys.
So Aphrodite is the second fragrance from Soki London. I tried out Empress before. I think that one was released back in October. I made a review video of that and I will link it down below. But basically, I wasn't really that impressed by Empress. I didn't really like it. So I was hoping that I would like Aphrodite a bit more. So the pre-orders of Aphrodite bottles were being sent out from Monday the 7th of August, but I actually just went for a sample. So the samples are £5 on the website plus postage and packaging at £3.50. Which, you know, is a little bit steep, isn't it? But I think the samples, you get a £5 voucher redeemable against a full bottle purchase. So that does sort of make it a little bit better. Although I have to say I haven't actually personally received my email with the voucher in, but I'm sure that could be sorted out if I did want to buy a full bottle. So the samples themselves are very homemade looking. They just come in these plain plastic vials, which is absolutely fine. The vial was filled right to the top when I received it, and they come in these sort of resealable packs as well, so that's quite nice. And they've got the notes on the back for you as well. So the perfume also comes in a 15ml travel size spray, which is priced at £29, and the 50ml bottle is priced at £69. So the official notes listed on Soki's website are top notes of mango, heart notes of lotus and palm trees, and a base note of coconut milk. So what did I actually smell? So this fragrance opens with mango. Mango is really the strongest note throughout the fragrance, and really the mango here is not like a fresh, juicy, ripe fruit kind of mango. It's more like something you would smell in a very concentrated drink, so like a concentrated squash that you'd have to dilute with water is how this fragrance smells to me. There's also something that really makes me think of those bubble wands that you have as a child when you're blowing bubbles. The detergent that they have in the bubbles really is something that I think is part of the opening and also the midsection of this fragrance quite prominently. As this dries, you do get some of the coconut, and the coconut here is really more watery and fresh than it is creamy or milky. It's something that really is also a little bit salty to me as well. I think maybe there might be some ambroxan in this fragrance. That might be why it is a little bit salty, but it's really not something that is too much, I wouldn't have said, in this fragrance. So in that midsection with the coconut, you still do have the mango, and the mango really is the more dominant scent for me. The last stage of this fragrance is really more a bit of a fruity floral. So you do get a bit of a floral note coming in, which is more sort of watery and fresh, but also quite sweet. And in the notes it's lotus, but I wouldn't ever pick out lotus as something in this fragrance. I don't think I'd know what it was. It's not really that distinctive to me. I think when I think of lotus, when I've sniffed it in other fragrances, very natural fragrances, it's something that has a slight dirtiness, and there's no dirtiness in this fragrance, but I don't really expect that in designer fragrances, and I probably wouldn't expect that from Soki's fragrance either. And actually I don't mind that, because I find that dirtiness that you sometimes get with lotus can be something that I find off-putting. So yeah, I think the dry down is something that is really quite pleasant, but it's something that doesn't really have a noticeable base other than maybe some kind of detergent like musk really. And that sort of liquid soap feeling is throughout most of the fragrance, but it is a little bit more tempered in the dry down. It's something that's less noticeable in the dry down. So how did this fragrance perform? Well, I think in the first 20 minutes it really was quite strong. It was something that I could really smell. I've had other people comment that they could smell it on me. But really, after those first 20 minutes were up, it was very much a skin scent. It was something that does last on my skin for maybe 3-4 hours. Maybe if I'm really, really close and sniff really, really hard, I can maybe just make it out after about 5 hours. But really, it's not a long-lived fragrance. It's not short-lived either, but it's definitely much more of a skin scent than something that's going to project. Bear in mind, I have a sample, so I can't overspray this. And also, I didn't spray it on my clothing, so it could last longer on clothes. So yes, in conclusion, I would describe this fragrance as a concentrated mango squash liquid soap, followed by a fresh watery coconut coming in along with the soap and the mango, followed by a very light mango floral dry down. I think this fragrance really strikes me as something very summery because it's got mango and coconut. That you're just not going to think of a winter fragrance with those notes. So overall, I wouldn't say this fragrance makes me think of the beach. It doesn't make me think it's gourmand. I don't really detect any vanilla here. I do just think this fragrance is a little bit sweet, but it's definitely not over the top sweet. It's quite reserved actually for a fragrance that could really go overly sweet. I think this one just doesn't have that delicious feeling to me. It doesn't make my mouth water. It doesn't make me think of juicy fruits. It's just not quite there for me in some way or another, somehow. It's not really what I was expecting from a fragrance that was sort of sold like a tropical paradise, like a fragrance for a mermaid. It's not really giving me those ideas, really. So yes, on to my final thoughts. I would say that this fragrance does make me think of shampoos. It makes me think of shower gels. It's that kind of fragrance. It's one of those sort of liquid soap kind of fragrances. Do I think it smells like coconut fizz? I've heard that this fragrance was inspired by coconut fizz. So if you haven't tried coconut fizz, it was discontinued, I think, a few years ago, and it was an incredibly popular fragrance from the Aqua Allegoria line from Galan. It's a fragrance that I really like, but it's a fragrance that I tend to get in the mood for. It's one that I don't always want to wear, but if I am in the mood for it, I absolutely love it. So Coconut Fizz is a really watery, really fresh feeling, almost green feeling kind of coconut. It's definitely something that's more coconut water than coconut milk or coconut cream. And in the dry down, it has a woodiness. So there's sandalwood here and there's also some vanilla, and the sandalwood and the vanilla contribute as much to the dry down as the coconut does. So do I think these two are similar? Well, actually, when I first opened the vial of this fragrance from the packet, this fragrance was my immediate thought. It really did smell like this fragrance from just the outside of the vial. But actually, when I wore this, I still did get a feeling of this fragrance, but they are pretty different. But I guess if you were smelling this from a long way away, and perhaps if you get more of the coconut than you do of the mango, perhaps in the middle section, then you might think that these two are similar. They definitely have that same similar feeling of the coconut with the sort of the freshness and the wateriness rather than the creamy coconut. But I wouldn't say that they're identical, and I'm glad they're not identical because that would be just ripping off somebody else's fragrance, wouldn't it? But I think the mango makes Aphrodite stand out from Coconut Fizz. I think if you're looking for a dupe of Coconut Fizz, if you finished your bottle, if you loved Coconut Fizz, this is not a dupe of Coconut Fizz, but it definitely has a feeling of Coconut Fizz. So finally, do I like Aphrodite and would I buy it? Well, I think really I don't like it as much as Coconut Fizz, and I don't think the mango is juicy or fresh enough, and I'm really not sure about the detergent feel in this fragrance for me. It's not something that I want to purchase, but I do think it's a lot better than Empress was. Empress, if you haven't seen my review, I will link it down below, but basically Empress I just really didn't like. It just made me feel a bit nauseous. This fragrance definitely doesn't make me feel nauseous. I actually don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's inventive, but I don't think it's bad at all. And I think some people will really like this fragrance. I think if you really like those kind of shampoo-y kind of fragrances, this one could be for you. But I also think that it's overpriced. I think really this fragrance should be the lower end of the celebrity market. It should be something that's priced about £20. This fragrance really makes me think a little bit of SJP's NYC Crush, which is a fragrance that's generally around £20. So I think, you know, maybe this fragrance is slightly overpriced. I think really if I were looking for a coconut fragrance, I wouldn't choose this one. So if I were looking for a coconut fragrance and I didn't have Coconut Fizz, what would I choose instead of Aphrodite? Well, I'd probably go for something like DKNY Coconuts About Summer, which is priced at £32 for 50ml. That fragrance is quite often touted as a dupe for Coconut Fizz, so I think that might be a good choice. I think, of course, if you're looking for a more creamy or milky coconut, this fragrance really isn't it. And I'd probably in that case go for something like Dolce Garden by Dolce & Gabbana. You could also try more of the floral coconuts, so something like Vanilla Cocoa by Kayali, which is a very similar price to Soki's Aphrodite. Or you could try something like La Nuit Trésor Nude or Soleil Cristal from Olivia Bell. So there are plenty of alternatives there, and whilst I don't think this fragrance is a bad fragrance at all, I really just don't find it that exciting, so it's really not for me.
So yeah, I don't know how loud the rain is, but excuse the rain. It's quite moist today. So yeah, me, Claire and Lizzie, we all thought it'd be fun to kind of do this one together, so we all ordered the samples together and thought we'd just sniff it, but independently, because obviously you know, we can all influence each other sometimes. I think it's quite easy, isn't it? So I've tried not to watch anything about this or anything like this. Before I get into it, obviously that Aphrodite was alright. Not Aphrodite, the other one. Empress was alright, but wasn't really exactly my jam. But yeah, and just to get my moan out of the way first, I must say an unlabelled sample was not, it's like, you know, what we buy off eBay, with it kind of it just wasn't great really, you know. But anyway, it's the fragrance that counts, isn't it? And I've waffled on far too long. So what's it like to me? Well, for me it kind of opens with this coconutty and I'd say grapefruit. It is a little sharp. Now as well, I also have them palm tree fragrances. I can't remember what they're called. So I do actually sniff out a bit of palm tree, in fairness. And there is a bit of a hint of it in there with some sort of greenness. Maybe even, it's like a little bamboo like, perhaps. The fruitiness sits nicely with a smaller, like a kind of mango, let's say. And it's very similar to what lilt smells like to me, so maybe that's where I get the grapefruit from. So you kind of, if you remember lilt, the old pop drink, it's grapefruit and mango, I believe, and yeah, it goes that way. There's also a very sharp musk. Now, whether that's ambroxan or something like it, but that does stick out a bit. It's pleasant. And in the air it smells like some sort of fruity conditioner, and that grows, and it gets very creamy, and I'd almost say it's like a creamy fig-like, shampoo type thing. It's just a bit too much on me really. It doesn't change too much. It gets actually a little bit more kind of peachy in the dry down, peachy apricotty, which is pleasant, and it's closer to the skin, and it does actually last on me for quite a few hours. Now, yeah, look, it wasn't for me, and there's many reasons. However, I will say I do find it very pleasant, and I can see this being very popular. I haven't tried the things that it's inspired by. Which again poses another question of originality and obviously people who don't like talking about clones and stuff. I mean, again, I haven't smelled them, so I don't know, you know, I can't compare there. The creamy figginess is not something I much enjoy. That's obviously the coconut milk and stuff, isn't it? But you know what I mean when they smell like that. And also, I accidentally drank some shampoo this year, and it gave me that scent memory, if you like, well, taste memory, and it really did make me feel a bit queasy. It was a bit too creamy and a bit too much for me. But again, I struggle with very lactonic-y, creamy fragrances, be it sandalwood, fig, do you know what I mean? So it's not personal against this, but yeah, it wasn't for me. It did seem, I don't know, it seems a lot of money for what it is, you know, 30-40 quid maybe, you know, but kind of you're pushing, you can get some lower end niche for this kind of stuff. Obviously it's got a very good perfumer, but they can only work with the ingredients that they're budgeted for, can't they? You know, you can't make gold out of lead, to be polite, can you? So yeah, it's I don't want to be mean and what have you. It's not for me, but again, like I say, I think it is one of them that would be really popular if you like that kind of creamy shampoo-y smell. Then yeah, go for it. All right. So this one, was a fun one to do, and it's actually quite interesting that we all pretty much got a similar thing, which kind of shows that this is it's quite a simple fragrance, and it's because it's quite potent and whatever, maybe it's quite easy to kind of smell a similar thing. It doesn't move all over, does it? I mean, thanks to Claire for comparing it to the other things, because I'd not smelt it. I mean, when I opened it, my first kind of initial thing was that it smells a bit like womaninity. I mean, it doesn't, but that's when I opened it. That was my first thought. And yeah, interesting with Lizzie as well. She kind of gets something like she's smelt before in the conditioner and the shampoo thing. It's not often we all agree. We all have very different tastes as well. So yeah, this was an interesting one to do. And obviously none of us thought it was bad or said it was bad. Again, my major beef was first impressions, if you like. That opening it up and an unlabelled cheap eBay sample thing. I mean, that's obviously not being made properly, has it? That's probably someone, like Claire says, just spraying them in. And the fact Claire's was full and mine was kind of half empty, as probably saw in the reel, is, yeah, just a bit more. I don't know. I mean, we don't know how big the company that supports Sophie is. Obviously they're not providing samples and things, so maybe you've got to do them themselves, and I appreciate they can be quite an expensive thing really to do, but it is what it is. So yeah, it was fun doing it this way, because it's kind of, we are influenced by each other, and obviously when me and Lizzie do the things, you know, sometimes we've obviously seen what each other's said, and we do get a bit influenced. It's natural. So thanks ladies for doing for doing this with me. And what about you folks? Have you tried this yet? Have you liked it? Do you prefer it to Aphrodite? Are you a big fan of thick, creamy, shampooy, figgy scents? Alright folks, thanks, bye.